Well, right now, lawmakers looking into what prosecutors call staggering fraud in Minnesota that could top $9 billion. Taxpayer money.
An update from a massive drug operation impacting our southern Georgia area. This morning, the FBI arrested more than 50 people.
Today's efforts are the culmination of a joint operation between agencies represented here today. It reflects what happens when agencies work together as one team with one mission.
The mansion sat on 12 acres of prime real estate, hidden behind iron gates and manicured hedges. To neighbors, it was just another luxury property owned by a successful businessman. But when FBI and ICE agents rolled up at dawn with battering rams and search warrants, they weren't looking for success stories. They were looking for answers to a billion-dollar question that had haunted federal investigators for 3 years. Where was all the money going? 400 arrests, 173 locations hit simultaneously across 8 states. And at the center of it all, a sprawling mansion that looked like wealth but smelled like something far darker. This wasn't just about drugs. This wasn't just about cartels. This was about something federal agents had never seen before, a financial network so sophisticated, I'm so deeply embedded in legitimate business that it took artificial intelligence and 500 investigators working around the clock just to map its edges. And when they finally cracked it open, what they found wasn't just shocking. It was a blueprint for the future of organized crime in America. The investigation started in the most unexpected place, a small-town bank in Minnesota. A compliance officer named Sarah Chen was reviewing wire transfer patterns when something caught her eye. A nonprofit organization claiming to help Somali refugees was moving money, a lot of money, hundreds of thousands of dollars every week, flowing in from donors across the country and then disappearing. The transactions were clean, the paperwork was immaculate, but the amounts didn't make sense. Why would a charity with 3 employees be processing more money than organizations 10 times its size? Chen flagged it. The bank reported it to FinCEN, the Financial Crimes Enforcement Network. And that's when the FBI's Financial Crimes Unit took notice. Special Agent Marcus Aldridge had spent 15 years tracking money laundering networks. He'd seen shell companies, offshore accounts, crypto scheme, every trick in the book. But when he started pulling the threads on this nonprofit, he realized he wasn't looking at a single organization. He was looking at a web, a massive, interconnected financial ecosystem that spanned continents. The nonprofit wasn't helping refugees. It was a node, one of dozens, maybe hundreds. Aldridge assembled a task force, FBI financial analysts, ICE Homeland Security Investigations agents who specialized in transnational crime, IRS criminal investigation, cybercrime specialists from the Secret Service. They called it Operation Phantom Ledger. And for 18 months, they worked in complete secrecy, building a digital map of an empire that existed entirely in the shadows. What they discovered was stunning. The network operated like a corporation. At the top, a man federal agents would come to call the architect. His real name was Bashir Khalif Hassan, a 47-year-old dual citizen who lived in that mansion outside Minneapolis. On paper, Hassan was a philanthropist. He ran charities. He owned logistics companies. He invested in real estate, restaurants, import-export businesses. He was, by all accounts, a pillar of his community. But Hassan wasn't building businesses. And he was building infrastructure for something much bigger. The task force traced money flowing from drug cartels in Mexico, Sinaloa operatives, CJNG distributors, into Hassan's network. The cartels had a problem. They were drowning in cash, billions of dollars from fentanyl, methamphetamine, and cocaine flooding American streets, and they needed to clean it. Traditional money laundering, casinos, restaurants, real estate, was too slow, too risky, too exposed. Hassan offered them something better, something invisible. He used charities, dozens of them, nonprofits claiming to support refugee resettlement, community development, youth programs. They looked legitimate because they were legitimate on the surface. They had 501c3 status. They filed tax returns. They even did some actual charitable work, just enough to maintain the facade. But underneath, they were washing machines. Dirty money came in as donations from anonymous benefactors or crowdfunding campaigns. It mixed with legitimate donations, and then it flowed out as payments to vendors, contractors, consultants, most of whom were shell companies Hassan controlled. Clean money on the other side. The scale was breathtaking. Federal analysts estimated the network was laundering between $50 and $80 million per month. That's nearly $1 billion a year. And it had been running, undetected, for at least 5 years. But Hassan didn't stop at money laundering. He diversified. The task force discovered he was also facilitating human smuggling. His logistics companies, trucking firms, shipping brokers were moving people across borders, and migrants paying tens of thousands of dollars to be smuggled into the United States, hidden in shipping containers or truck compartments. Some were desperate families seeking safety. Others were cartel operatives, gang members, enforcers being relocated to expand criminal operations in American cities. Hassan charged for the service, and he took a percentage of whatever those operatives earned once they arrived. Then there was the fraud. Hassan's network had penetrated COVID relief program, fake businesses applying for Paycheck Protection Program loans, unemployment insurance fraud using stolen identities. The task force estimated he'd stolen at least $40 million from federal pandemic relief funds alone. And he wasn't working alone. As investigators dug deeper, they found co-conspirators embedded in places that made their blood run cold. A deputy director in a state commerce department who approved business licenses for Hassan's shell companies without scrutiny. A bank vice president who overlooked suspicious transaction reports. A CBP officer at the Minneapolis-St. Paul airport who waved through Hassan's associates without secondary inspection. This wasn't just crime. This was infiltration. By early 2026, the task force had enough. They had wiretaps, financial records, cooperating witnesses from inside the network. They knew where Hassan lived. They knew his daily routine. They knew where his key operatives were located. And they knew that if they moved too slowly, the entire network would vanish. The raids were planned with military precision. At 5:47 a.m. on a cold February morning, 173 locations were hit simultaneously. FBI SWAT teams breached Hassan's mansion. IRS CI agents stormed logistics warehouses in Ohio and Texas. DEA joined raids on stash houses where cartel operatives were hiding. Local police assisted in executing search warrants on nonprofit offices, restaurants, money transfer businesses. At the mansion, Hassan was in his bedroom when flashbangs shattered his windows. Agents found him trying to destroy a laptop, smashing it with a hammer. Too late, forensic teams recovered the hard drive. On it, encrypted files containing the entire financial ledger, names, transactions, bank accounts in 17 countries, cartel contacts, smuggling routes, bribe payments to corrupt officials, everything. In the basement, agents found something else, a server room, locked behind a steel door. Inside, racks of hard drives running sophisticated encryption software. Hassan had been operating his own private financial network, completely off the grid. Bitcoin wallets, offshore wire transfers routed through dozens of intermediary accounts. He'd built a digital empire that rivaled anything the cartels had ever created. Across the country, agents were making similar discoveries. In a warehouse in Columbus, they found ledgers detailing human smuggling operations, manifests listing cargo that were actually people. In a nonprofit office in Phoenix, they seized files showing fake donor lists and fabricated expense reports. In a luxury condo in Miami, they arrested one of Hassan's top lieutenants trying to flee to Kenya with $2 million in cash stuffed into suitcases. By noon, 400 people were in custody. Federal agents had seized over $60 million in cash, gold, luxury vehicles, and real estate. They'd frozen another $200 million in bank accounts. And they had evidence linking the network to 3 major drug cartels, multiple human smuggling rings, and organized fraud operations spanning 2 continents. But here's the part that should terrify you. Hassan's network wasn't unique. It was a model. In the weeks following the raids, federal investigators began sharing intelligence with international partners. And they learned that similar networks were operating in Germany, Sweden, the UK, all using the same playbook: charities as fronts, logistics companies for smuggling, technology to stay invisible. Hassan had created a franchise, and other operators were copying it. The billion-dollar question wasn't just, where did the money go? It was, how many more are out there? The trials began in late 2026. Hassan faced over 200 federal charges: money laundering, conspiracy, fraud, human smuggling, racketeering. Prosecutors laid out a case that took 3 weeks to present. The evidence was overwhelming. Financial records showing millions flowing through fake charities, testimony from cartel members who'd paid Hassan to clean their money, wiretaps capturing Hassan coordinating smuggling operations. Hassan's defense? He claimed he was just a businessman. He didn't know his charities were being exploited. He didn't know his logistics companies were being used for smuggling. He was, his lawyers argued, a victim of his own success, targeted because of his ethnicity and his wealth. The jury didn't buy it. Guilty on all counts. Hassan was sentenced to 45 years in federal prison. 53 of his co-conspirators received sentences ranging from 5 to 30 years. The corrupt officials, the deputy director, the bank VP, the CBP officer, were convicted and stripped of their positions. But the damage was done. The network had operated for years. Billions of dollars had been laundered. Thousands of people had been smuggled. Communities across America had been flooded with fentanyl and methamphetamine paid for with money Hassan cleaned. And here's what keeps federal agents awake at night. For every network they dismantle, how many others are still operating? How many other philanthropists are running billion-dollar criminal enterprises behind nonprofit facades? How many other corrupt officials are looking the other way? This story isn't just about one man. It's about a system that made it possible. A financial system so complex that criminals can hide in plain sight. Immigration systems stretched so thin that smugglers move people like cargo. Nonprofit regulations so loose that fraud can flourish for years before anyone notices. Hassan's billion-dollar empire was built on silence, on the assumption that no one was watching, on the belief that legitimate-looking businesses and charities were above suspicion. And for a long time, he was right. But silence has a price. The communities devastated by the drugs his network helped distribute, the families torn apart by smuggling operations, the taxpayers robbed by pandemic relief fraud. The trust eroded when people learned that charities could be criminal fronts. This is the new face of organized crime. Not street gangs and shootouts, but spreadsheets and shell companies, nonprofits and logistics firms, criminals who wear suits and donate to political campaigns, who hire expensive lawyers and accountants, who build empires while claiming to help their communities. If you think this story sounds far-fetched, think again. Operation Phantom Ledger was just one case. There have been others, and there will be more. If this investigation opened your eyes to how deep these networks go, share this story. Help more people understand that organized crime doesn't always look like what we see in movies. Sometimes it looks like success. Sometimes it hides behind charity. Sometimes it takes federal task forces years just to see it. And remember, this story, while fictional, is inspired by real patterns, real investigations, real threats. The methods Hassan used, charity fraud, logistics exploitation, cryptocurrency laundering, these are all real tactics being used right now by criminal networks around the world. The billion-dollar question remains: how many more are out there, hiding in the shadows, waiting to be discovered?